Coming up on today's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast, after a day away from the show, we're back. And day 3 is in the books, live from Radio Row here in Arizona. We'll talk about Derek Carr, what's the latest with him, and the visit with the New Orleans Saints. Plus, you'll hear from a couple former Raiders, that's linebacker Kirk Morrison and the former MVP, Rich Gannon. It's all coming up on today's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast, Thursday, February 9th, 2023.
Just win. Just win. Just win. Just win.
The autumn wind is a raider, pillaging just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and laugh when he's conquered and won. And won. And won. And won. And won.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thanks so much for making the show your first listen each and every day. Remember, you can find the Locked On Raider podcast free and available on all platforms. That includes YouTube. Thanks to my man Ari. He's doing a great job each and every day, making sure that we're up on YouTube, we're looking good, we're sounding good. And I know that we weren't up on YouTube or even doing a podcast on Wednesday. We went out to the media party here in Arizona on Tuesday night, and we're out there way too late. I started seeing a lot of people that I knew from Central Texas, started seeing a lot of people I knew just from the media in general, and we were just out late. I kept saying, all right, we're going to leave in a minute. They shuttled us out to some farm. I don't even know where it was, but they shuttled us out to a farm, and I was like, oh, this is great. We're hanging out, catching up with everybody. I looked up, and I was like, whoa, look what time it is. So by the time we shuttled back to our Airbnb, shuttled back to the hotel, and then had to get an Uber back to our Airbnb, it was way too late. I was like, you know what? I'm exhausted. There's no way I'm going to do a good show, and I'd rather do no show than not a good show. So I decided not to do a show on Wednesday, but we are back on this Thursday, and today's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast is brought to you by Nissan. The only thing more exciting than the big game is the all-new, all-electric 2023 Nissan Ariya. There's only a few days left until the Super Bowl. Are you ready? The Nissan Ariya, the EV for people who love to drive. Learn more at nissanusa.com. Let's go ahead and jump right into segment number 1 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast, news and notes of the day. And really, it's all about Derek Carr, and it's on the Derek Carr watch. We see that the time is ticking as the calendar continues to turn the page. I mean, it's February 9th. The Raiders have to make a decision on him by February 15th. So the latest and the greatest, what we learned on Wednesday, learned on Tuesday, as a matter of fact, and of course didn't talk about it on Wednesday because it didn't have a show. The Saints invited Derek Carr for a visit. The Raiders granted permission for that to happen, right? And the plan was for the visit to happen on Wednesday. He has a no-trade clause, so it's more like doing due diligence. No trade was on the block. And then Vinny Bonsignore from the RJ and also from Raider Nation Radio 920 put out a tweet just for clarity. The Raiders and Saints have agreed on compensation element of a trade for Derek Carr. That was always the requirement for any team to get permission to speak with him. So that was on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, the visit happened. And it led deep into the night, as a matter of fact. Then there was a tweet out from my guy that covers the Saints. His name is Nick. He tweeted out, Derek Carr had dinner with Dennis Allen, Pete Carmichael, and other members of the brass tonight. The meeting just ended now, per sources. And the thing about that is, it makes sense, right? Jeremy Fowler from ESPN has been talking about the Saints for a while. You know that the Saints need a quarterback. Dennis Allen was his head coach when he was in Oakland. When he was a rookie, as a matter of fact, that was his first head coach. So he has a connection with them. Now, does that mean that he's going to sign off on a trade? No, it doesn't. But at least you know that he's made the visit. He had the dinner. He's talked about it. And if he likes the situation, likes what they're saying, maybe he'll sign off on it. I don't think Derek Carr gets more money than he has on his contract right now. And if the Saints have agreed on some kind of compensation, it's not going to be anything great. Like, you're not going to see a first-round pick, in my opinion. You're not going to see a second-round pick in return, in my opinion. You might see like a third or a fourth-round pick, possibly, for Derek Carr. Not because he's not worth it, but they know he's about to be released. So if they get anything out of a trade, that's a positive. So that's something to look forward to. Vinny has been all over this, and he said, just continue to monitor, stay awake, check Twitter, make sure that you know who to follow because, something could happen quick, fast, in a hurry. We could get an announcement about a potential trade. That would be great. Again, if the Raiders could get something for Derek Carr as opposed to nothing, that is a win every single day in my book. You know, what did DJ Khaled say? All I do is win, win, win. You know what I mean? Like, that is a win, win, win if the Raiders are able to get something for Derek Carr when everybody and their mother knows he's going to get released if he's not traded for by February 15th. So we're on Derek Carr watch right now, and once that domino drops, whoa, Nelly, like my old late great-grandmother used to say, then it's on and popping. So we'll continue to update you on that as it rolls out. Also, wanted to play this sound for you, and I got plenty of sound for you on today's show. You hear from Kirk Morrison coming up in segment number 2, Rich Gannon in segment number 3. Charles Woodson, he's with Fox Sports, and he was at Radio Row, and it was like a big round table. Howie Long was there. Multiple members of the Fox team were there, and Charles Woodson was talking, and my man Damon actually asked him a question about the Raiders' defense. We know that they need a quarterback. You know, we've all been talking every single day on Radio Row. It's all about Aaron Rodgers, or, okay, maybe another quarterback. Whatever the case may be, we know that they're going to need a quarterback. But my man Damon was smart and asked Charles Woodson about the Raiders' defense and what he felt they needed to do. Here's a good answer from Charles Woodson on the Raiders' defense.
Defense has got to be better, man. We need interior rush. We need that presence inside. I feel like Max is, a guy on the outside who gives relentless effort every play, but you just need somebody that can feed him to him sometime on the outside. We got to get better at our cornerback position. Got to get better at middle linebacker. And we gotta have defenders, man, that make plays on the ball. We got to get the ball back. We don't do that enough. So I feel like, whatever scouting needs to do in terms of a young guy coming out of school, or if there's somebody in free agency that they can get their hands on and bring into that secondary that knows how to get the ball, not be afraid to get the ball, then that's what we got to do.
I thought that was good stuff right there, because Charles Woodson is telling us what we already know, that they basically need help on all levels of the defense. And that's not a bad thing. That's just, that just lets us know that whatever we're talking about, we're absolutely being 100% real. The Raiders defense needs a lot of improvement, and it's great when you hear a Hall of Famer in C. Wood talk about it. So shout out to my man Damon, who did a great job making sure he was Johnny on the spot and had that covered, and went to left out of the spot. It's like you're inside the convention center, but we're on the bottom floor. My man had to go all the way up to the third floor to make sure he was on top of that, and he did a great job. So I definitely appreciate him for that. But anytime you get a chance to hear from C. Wood, it is a good thing. So coming up in segment number 2, Kirk Morrison, a former Raider linebacker, talking all things NFL, talking about the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday, talking about the Raiders. I can't talk to Kirk Morrison without talking about the Raiders. That's my longtime friend, knowing him for a very, very long time. You'll hear that conversation coming up in segment number 2 after I tell you about the Ultimate Football GM. And it's so fitting that we're talking about the Ultimate Football GM because, who didn't want to be the football GM? I would love to be a GM. We always do it each and every day. We talk about it. We're talking about Derek Carr and the Saints and the possibility of that. We're being the GM of the team. If you want to be that guy, you could do it right now with the Ultimate Football GM. You're responsible for controlling the destiny of your franchise by hiring the right coaches and coordinators, trading players, navigating your franchise through free agency and the draft, and all the ups and downs of a season. All this is a challenging and realistic game. Ultimate Football GM is completely free and playable offline. Play on the go as you want and when you want to. And, of course, we got to put an extra twist to it, right? So we created a Locked On League for you to compete against Locked On fans all over the world. Can you be the ultimate Locked On Football GM? Choose the Locked On League in the app to join. Can you create a football dynasty? All listeners of the Locked On Raiders podcast get 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On. It's in all caps, and it's in the game store. It's Locked On in all caps and in the game store. Check it out today. Download the game. Again, ultimate-gm.com or look it up on the App Store. It's ultimate-gm.com. Ultimate Football GM. Start your dynasty today. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Want to bring you some sights and sounds, really some sounds because we're on the podcast, sounds from Radio Row and my conversation with Kirk Morrison. He's a guy that I met a long time ago, and I think each and every year that I'm at Radio Row, I've got to catch up with him. See him in the Allegiant Stadium a lot of times, see him all over the place. I mean, the dude is an absolute grinder. Was he a fantastic linebacker for the Raiders? Yes. But you know what? He's an ultimate, just dude. He's a great grinder. He's a dude that's really, carved himself a niche in the media world. And he's a media personality. He does Sirius XM Radio, ESPN. I mean, he does just about anything. Kirk is a good dude. So here's the conversation we had with the former linebacker of the Silver and Black, Kirk Morrison.
Now we cooking with gas.
There you go.
know
We
what I
do
mean?
it all the way live. That's how we get down. As you can
What's
tell,
up?
Kirk Morrison has joined us. He's here at the table. And Kirk, how you doing, my
I'm
man?
in the building. I'm
Yeah,
in the building.
you doing
Great to
all right?
be, man. Great to be here. Great to be with you guys, and enjoying another Super Bowl.
You know what's gonna crack you up
What's that?
is that I've known you since Lamont Jordan's 30th birthday party.
Wait, running backs play to their 30?
Remember that?
Yes,
remember
I
Lamont
remember.
Jordan and he had a 30th birthday party in the Bay,
In
and
the
that was
Bay.
the first time I met you. And then we
Yeah.
just careers have passed. Obviously, yours is a lot better than mine, but they've crossed so many times, and here we are. This is like, I don't know, 5 or 6 radio rows that we've been here
Is
together.
it 5 or 6? I feel like it's more.
It
We've been doing
probably
this
is
for a
more.
long time, man.
Yeah.
We've been doing
Yeah.
this. We've been doing these radio rows for a long time, and it's always fun to get out because I've always said this is like the high school reunion.
Yeah.
We only get it once a year.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean? Think
yeah.
about how many shows and people that you called into their show or they've called into your show
Right.
and you've been a part of it, but yet you don't see them all year long. And then
Right.
all of a sudden you get that 1 week where you get a chance to see them, catch up, appreciate it. There's a lot of respect that goes here at Radio Row. So I'm definitely excited to see a lot of my colleagues who,
Yeah.
like I said, I joined throughout the year.
And you've been, I mean, you're just killing it. You're doing
I'm
everything.
trying,
I mean,
man.
you're here with Sirius XM, but I
Right,
mean, let's
right.
make no mistake about it. You're doing everything. I don't know how many Raider broadcasts I saw you at this year. I
Yeah.
mean, you're just all over the place.
Q, man, it's a lot, man. But this is my passion. I love football.
That's
I love
awesome.
what football has done for me, my family, to play the game at the highest level.
Right.
It fuels me because there's always new storylines. There's always the new fresh blood. I always say, like, right now we got a outstanding Super Bowl between the Chiefs and the Eagles, right? And then after it's over, we'll talk about it for about a week.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll get a rest off for about a week. And then guess what? The Combine's here.
Right.
And we'll do this thing all over again. Like I always say the NFL fiscal year starts all over again.
Yeah.
And we create the same excitement, right? That's why I think the NFL is such an amazing game because I don't feel that same way when baseball spring training starts.
Right.
Or
Yeah,
baseball
nobody worries
ends.
about the
I'm not
schedule
worried about
coming
that.
out for baseball.
Or the NBA, right?
Yeah,
the
yeah.
NBA right now currently is going to get me all excited get me excited about the trade deadline. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, wow. But honestly, really, realistically, there's only 5 teams in the NBA who has a legitimate shot at actually winning the
Right.
NBA title. So the NFL, I always feel like we get ready to see what's the move that's going to make your team go to the next level.
Right.
Could it be your team drafting a Jalen Hurts 3 years ago when everybody said, why are we doing this? Oh, we love him. He's our guy. This is my dude. What
Right.
you mean? I don't know what you – or Patrick Mahomes. Remember trading up to get him.
Yeah, big
when you
time.
got Alex Smith.
Yep.
And yet here he goes, maybe one of the most a generational quarterback right in front of
Right.
our eyes. And look, we got 2 black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl, man. This is the stuff that you can't create. Sorry, Arian Foster, right? Like,
Right.
You can't script this,
Yeah,
buddy.
yeah.
Whoever's doing it, they're doing a hell of a job.
Right,
Trust me, but
right.
you can't script some of the stuff that we see with the
No.
NFL. So that's part of why I'm so enthusiastic
Yeah.
about it.
Well, it's so exciting. It's so much fun to be able to be where we are and doing what we're doing is such a blessing. I say it all the time. Again, Kirk Morrison, former Raider linebacker,
Yeah.
NFL linebacker as well, Buffalo Bills and the Jaguars. But we always talk about him as a former Raider linebacker. Damon's got one for you.
Yeah, you mentioned storylines and how you can't make this up. The Aaron Rodgers storyline, will he or won't he? Is he going to get traded? What do you make of this? Because every offseason now, he's given us one of the best stories to watch.
Well, he said he wants to go to a dark place for 4 days. Tell him to come to Allegiant Stadium. Come on, man. Come to the Death Star. We'll put you in a nice little room and let you go and figure it out from there. But, I mean, how cool would that be if Aaron Rodgers? I know they, obviously, a lot of Raider fans we thought about. And so this was my theory. I said if Tom Brady was available and the Raiders were able to acquire Tom Brady, I felt like the all-time sellingest single-season jersey would be Tom Brady's Las Vegas Raiders jersey. Everybody would get a Tom Brady jersey.
Right.
Like Buccaneers, whatever. But that black
Yeah.
Brady 12 on the back,
Yeah.
whew,
Everything looks
that's
good in
fire.
silver and black, don't it?
Come on now. I'm buying one.
Right.
My family getting one. Everybody getting one, right? So that's what I'm doing at first.
Yeah.
And so Tom Brady retires, and I said, I just got the name on the back wrong. Let's just take the Brady off and put Rodgers on it.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the all-time selling single-season jersey.
Right.
An Aaron Rodgers Las Vegas Raiders jersey, man. How cool would that be? But we're talking about a team that obviously you're transitioning from Derek. And Derek had some good seasons. He had bad seasons. To me, he was a great leader. And that's what the NFL is. Sometimes it may not work in your direction. And when you change coaches, it's a coaches and general manager.
Yeah.
Sometimes it needs to be fresh. It needs to be new.
Right.
It's no offense to Derek. And I think he finally understands that. He'll move on from it. And you've seen other quarterbacks. I've seen Matthew Stafford move on from it. He ended up winning a Super Bowl. So we've seen other players in the National Football League have success going other places. People forget Kurt Warner started a Super Bowl here.
Right.
Okay, for the Arizona Cardinals.
Right.
But he was thrown away by the St. Louis Rams.
Yeah.
Right? So let's just remember, all that comes. Actually, he was thrown away from New York with the Giants. Remember, he was Eli Manning.
Yeah, that's right.
He started for Eli, and they brought in Eli. And they said, "Get out of here."
Get out of here.
These things happen, man. It's just part of the National Football League. You hate to see it, but would Aaron Rodgers ultimately elevate this team? Sure, I think he would. But how many years? And this is where I think the organization has to say, is this a good fix for right now? Are we fixing a flat tire right now, or do we just need a new tire?
Right. Yeah.
How long does the flat last? I mean, we could put a couple of little, patches on that thing, but at some point, you're going to have to get a new tire.
Yeah.
And that's what I think the organization is going through now. When you're picking at 7, it's going to be difficult to probably get one of the top-tier quarterbacks unless you go up and make a trade. So that's what the evaluation period is going to be about. But, with free agency upcoming, new league year, I think that Aaron Rodgers could be a possibility. And I don't think people in Raider Nation would be upset at that.
I don't think they should be. I think that's a heck of a combination, Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Adams.
Correct.
We've heard that work a couple times.
Yes.
So I think that would work. You play defense. You see that Raiders defense. I feel like that they need additions on every level. And not trying to sound disrespectful, but just being real about it.
Well, I think a lot of the players who were acquired through the previous regime were a part of this team. And so I know Raider Nation, I know a lot of people who I tend to communicate with. I'll say, well, this guy's going to be released. This guy's going to be – they're like, why? Why? He's good. He's our second-round pick. I know how the NFL works.
Right.
It's just these are not my dudes.
Yep.
Like when a new general manager comes in, no offense, I don't know you.
Right.
So I'm not going off of what the previous – and I've always said in a ego-driven NFL, I want to win with my guys. I want to bring in my players. And so you are going to see a mass exodus of former players that were on this team, right? That's why fifth options weren't given out to certain players.
Yeah. Because
you're going to have to earn it. Nothing is given for what you've done prior.
Right.
I learned that because I played for 6 coaches in 8 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
Which helped me because I felt like every year I'm constantly proving, hey, I belong. I'm one of your guys. I got to show you. I don't know if I would have been able to do that had I had the same coach for 5 years, right? Because I felt like I've already proven it, Coach. I showed you already. Yeah. But every year I was doing it over and over again, and that's where defensively they're going to have to find the guys. I mean, Patrick Graham had to turn in a defense that didn't really have the players who he's wanted. So he'll have a year under his belt. They're going to go out and acquire more guys in free agency through the draft, guys that can fit his system and his scheme. But you have guys like Max Crosby to build around, right? You've got some certain players who stepped up this year that you feel like can be a part of this organization for years to come.
Just to prove that I listen all the time, I share that story that you just told us all the time.
Which one?
About it's an ego-driven business, and guys want their guy. And I remember you told me a couple years ago, you were like, this is what's going to happen, and this is why. I've been part of it. So whenever anyone asks me, well, what do they mean they have to win with their guys? I said, Kirk Morrison told me that in this business, because he's been there, done that, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
I don't think people put themselves in a situation of a general manager.
Right.
Okay? You have to literally remove your fan cap and put your general manager hat on.
Right.
A general manager comes in, and automatically his job is to fix. I want to come in and bring guys in who fix.
Right.
And he's done evaluations. Maybe some of those players he had as 6th and 7th round picks, right?
Yeah.
Where a team drafts them at, in the 3rd round, in the 2nd round.
Right.
I'm going to bring in guys who I know and guys who fit my system and fit my scheme. So it's the reality of the NFL. I've sat down with general managers, and they've told me to my face, like, we're going to go in a different direction. I appreciate you. That's, as long as you're honest and upfront with me, I appreciate that. So I've seen, that sort of take place, and that's why I continue to tell people It may not be what you think, but this is just how general managers and executives think about an organization.
That's how it works.
And when it comes to Patrick Graham's defense, we've heard all this season that he needs to have his guys in the defense. So in this offseason, they got to go out and get some of Patrick Graham's guys, as you just spoke to.
Right.
So what is it about that defense? Maybe this defense is different, switching over from a 4-3 to a 3-4. Let's cover 3 more man defense. Right. But what is it about finding those guys that's going to make it the right fit, as opposed to, let's say, us casual fans looking at the Madden rating, that guy's an 80, that guy's an 80. Why doesn't it add up?
Well, I think one of the things that the obvious, I won't give excuses, I'll give reasons. So one of the reasons were a lot of injuries. And when an injury bug started to hit for this Raiders team, one of the biggest things that stood out was their lack of depth.
Yep.
Right? There wasn't guys who can come in and fill that hole for 2 games, 1 game, whatever it may be. You saw the lack of depth where you're almost pulling guys off the street to come out there and play for you during the week, during the season.
Right.
That can't happen. And that's what year 2 is all about for this regime, is about getting not only your frontline guys, but have guys behind them that can come in and play.
Right.
Last night I'm at the media night. I'm looking at the Philadelphia Eagles. So their front goes Josh Sweat, Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham. Oh, by the way, behind them, Ndamukong Suh, Robert Quinn, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Linval Joseph.
Right.
Like
Jordan Davis.
You know what I'm saying?
They got dudes.
Jordan Davis don't even touch the field.
Right.
Their first-round pick don't touch the field. So I'm just kind of showing you where any of those frontline guys go down. Well, guess what? Guess who's behind them? Another group of guys coming right in. So that's the part that I'm saying that you want to get the Raiders to where they have that depth behind at every level of the defense. Defensive line, linebackers, secondary. That's where you want to get this team to. And it takes a little bit of time. It takes a year. It takes a season or 2. But you get excited to see the process. And that's, you're excited because Patrick Graham was down at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
So it could be some of those guys that he was able to see firsthand. That he fits our system. He fits our scheme. I was a Senior Bowl player.
Yeah.
And my coaching staff was the Raiders.
Right.
And I proved to them that, hey, if I'm available, draft me, because you know what you're going to get. You know the kind of player, the versatility. I think that's what's going to help out Patrick Graham, who had a chance to see a lot of those players down in Mobile.
Yeah, you mentioned that. That's awesome because the Senior Bowl, they were there. Shrine Bowl was in their house.
In their house,
right?
Yeah.
The Pro Bowl was in their house. I mean, that's recruiting.
Right.
It feels like recruiting to me and finding young talent. That should be able to play a good role.
Well, they're recruiting, but I know a lot of players want to know who's going to be the quarterback with the Raiders before you can figure that out when in terms of free agency. Where am I going to? I'm not going to somewhere where are we grabbing a young quarterback in the draft, or are we bringing in a first ballot Hall of Famer when he decides to retire?
Right.
Those are the conversations that you have to have with a lot of players coming up this offseason.
What does it mean to you in the locker room when a rookie quarterback is drafted and started immediately? What does that tell you as a player?
Well, it tells you you're rebuilding, right? It tells you that, but how quickly is the rebuild?
Right.
I don't think that's what Davante Adams signed up for, but a guy can come in and play right away. I had a chance to visit with Trevor Lawrence at the Pro Bowl, and year 1 threw a league-leading 17 interceptions. Year 2, he was arguably one of the better quarterbacks, especially down the stretch. He went 25-8, 25 touchdowns thrown, only 8 interceptions. Now, a lot of it had to do with the offensive scheme and his head coach, but how quickly, if you do draft a young quarterback, can you get him up to speed? I think we want results right now. This is a results business. We don't have time to wait. We can't wait a year or 2. We can't be Chicago where they still don't understand what they have with Justin Fields, right? You want to know right now, right away.
Right.
Same thing with the 49ers, right? They drafted Trey Lance. I know just about as much about Trey Lance when they drafted him. And now if we're going on year 3, I still know the same amount. I don't have any more new information. He played, but obviously he was injured. So that's the difficult part, I think, when you're looking at the position of quarterback, especially for the Raiders.
Well, they're going to have a heck of an offseason, right? It's
not.
I say offseason. Go ahead.
Something I want to ask you about one player specifically, Denzel Perryman. Do you think they should bring him back at that linebacker position? I know that he's not otherworldly, but I do think that when he's on the field, got to stay healthy. He's great for this team. What do you think about him?
I think you just said it. You got to stay healthy, right? That's
That's
the story of his career. He is an outstanding football player. I've loved Denzel ever since he came in and he was a Charger when he was drafted. But obviously you see that he's had injury history when it comes to his play. And so defense looks different when he's out there,
Yeah.
and when he's not out there, they kind of lose their way a little bit. When you lose the vocal leader, a guy who makes some big hits and big plays, that's the part that how can the team try to find things friendly? So is it per game incentives? You know what I mean?
Right.
You don't want a guy to get hurt, but the history behind it,
Exactly.
if I'm a general manager, I'm going to put some incentives in there that, hey, your per game roster bonuses, if you're healthy, if you're available, then that's it.
Right.
But give him a nice little signing bonus as well. I truly trust him. I think that he is going to be outstanding, but we just got to find a way to have it a team-friendly contract that doesn't put the Raiders, bad if anything does happen.
We got a text from Mailman Raider say, "Yo, Kirk, you still got a Raider helmet? We haven't had a stud like you since you."
I got a Raider helmet. I don't know if it fits no more. My head on swole, but I don't know if I want to put that thing on. Man.
Right.
I got the old school helmets. They got these new school helmets now.
Yeah.
Everybody look around like they astronauts and stuff like that. But no, man, my playing days are over. But it's good to watch the young generation. It's good to watch this organization as they find a way. This was a team 2 years ago.
Right.
I think that they can get back. Rough patch this year, but you change some of those one-score games and those close games down in the fourth, man. That to me was what this season was lacking. That they can easily flip that around.
Well, I tell you all the time, and I obviously appreciate your time, but I tell you all the time, it was a pleasure watching you. It was a pleasure watching your running buddy, Thomas Howard.
Yes,
Rest
sir.
in peace. That was your guy. We were on the third deck of the Coliseum, sitting there next
All
to
day.
Pops.
Yeah,
we were having a good time. But, Kirk, we appreciate your time, man. Sirius XM, you're going to be here with them all week, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, there he is. Kirk Morrison, former Raider, Oakland Raider, did it big, and now he's doing it big here and doing it big on everything that he does. Sirius XM, ESPN, it doesn't matter. He holds it down. But, Kirk, thanks so much.
Q, Mon, appreciate y'all.
So there was a conversation right there at the former Raider linebacker, Kirk Morrison. It's always good to catch up with him. Captain Kirk, as I call him every single time he sits down with me. Good dude. Really, really good dude. Coming up in segment number 3, I know that one went a little bit longer. Got a shorter interview that I had with the former MVP, quarterback Rich Gannon. You'll hear that coming up in segment number 3. Before I get to that, though, I do want to tell you about LinkedIn. As a small business owner or hiring manager, you know that success in 2023 all depends on the team members you surround yourself with. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. With LinkedIn Jobs, you can hire qualified candidates more efficiently by matching open roles with people who have the skills, values, and experiences to help you achieve your goals. LinkedIn Jobs helps you quickly attract qualified candidates to your open jobs with targeting tools. They go beyond resume data by using insights from your job post, company, and their 875 million member profiles to put your post in front of the most qualified candidates. Identify the most qualified candidates on LinkedIn Jobs and connect with them fast and for free. LinkedIn Jobs makes it easy to screen and rate applicants based on your job qualifications all on one platform. It's why small businesses rank LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hire versus leading competitors. Right now, all you got to do is check out LinkedIn Jobs, help you find the qualified candidate you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. I also wanted to tell you about FanDuel. And FanDuel, we're very excited about FanDuel. It is our it is the #1 sportsbook in America. If you're new to FanDuel, it's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. Download FanDuel now so you can bet Super Bowl 57 with a no-sweat first bet. You get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not win. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from money line to point spreads to who'll score a touchdown. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Best of all, you can get paid your winnings instantly. Join FanDuel today at FanDuel.com/LockedOn to claim your no-sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Went a little long with the captain, Captain Kirk Morrison, in segment number 2. So good to have a shorter interview here with the former league MVP. That's quarterback Rich Gannon. We talk about the quarterback position all the time. We talk about the fact that, it's been stabilized by Derek Carr. It hasn't been stable since Rich Gannon decided to retire, right? I mean, it was stable while Rich Gannon was a member of the Silver and Black. Then after that, it was a carousel of quarterback after quarterback after quarterback, retread after retread after retread. And then there was Derek Carr. And now he's on his way out, possibly New Orleans, maybe somewhere else. But he's on his way out. So now what the Raiders do moving forward with the quarterback position, we have to wait and see. Of course, there's been a lot of conversation about it, but again, we have to wait and see. And, of course, we'll have plenty of talk about that. But let's go ahead and jump into the conversation I had with the former league MVP, Rich Gannon. We're back here on Radio Row. Actually, Media Row. I got to correct myself. It used to be Radio Row, and now it's Media Row. But we're with the former MVP, Rich Gannon. And, Rich, how you doing?
Q, I'm doing great. It's great to be with you. Always great to be holding a Raiders mic and talking about the Raiders and the NFL. This is going to be a busy offseason for a lot of teams, but certainly for the Raiders.
We just came off the Pro Bowl weekend. It was there in Vegas, Allegiant Stadium. What did you think of the way that they changed the Pro Bowl to make it more family-friendly? And a lot of the players weren't big fans of it.
Honestly, I don't like it. I mean, as a former player that played in it 4 times, I took great pride in just representing the AFC in that game and not only going there, but going there to play well and to win the game. I just remember in the locker room at halftime, guys like Ray Lewis and Peyton Manning, it was important to them, right? It was important to, a lot of guys that really cared about the game. And so I get it. These contracts are enormous. You don't want to go there and get hurt. Some players have all-season surgeries lined up. I get it, but there's got to be some type of happy medium. The idea that we're playing dodgeball and stuff like that. I mean, I think it tarnishes really what and not only that, I think you can get hurt playing dodgeball as much as you could probably play in a game. But it is what it is. I think the NFL is trying to figure it out. But to me, it was always the Pro Bowl meant something. Players, when those announcements came out that you were made the Pro Bowl team, guys were really excited to go over there and not only be recognized but participate.
Right, and Max Crosby was a guy that said, "Hey, I don't think there's anything I could do here. There's nothing I could do. I want to play football."
Well, he's a football player,
exactly.
and he's a great one at that. And the thing that I love, I mean, I think if the Raiders had like 25 or 30 Max Crosbys, and I'm not just talking about I'm just talking about the energy, the passion, the commitment, the drive. I think then you got a championship team. I mean, because he embodies everything that's great about the Raiders. I mean, effort and energy, and we got to find more players like that. That's the goal, and that's what Dave Ziegler and the rest of their staff and Coach McDaniels, they got to go out and try and get more players like Max.
Well, they're going to have a very busy offseason, very interesting offseason. I mean, there's a lot to do with this team, and the organization very well. Former MVP of the team. How do they get this thing turned around quick?
You know what? It doesn't take a lot. I think we're in the process of trying to change the culture and the environment, and Josh is looking for the players that fit his schemes. But I think we've got to get better defensively. I think defense has been a big issue for this team. I mean, it's tough to go out and score 35 points each week, and if you have to do that because your defense has given up so many big plays, I think the explosive plays, I think the 2 areas that Josh talked about with us in the preseason is we got to be able to create more negative plays, more sacks and turnovers. That simply didn't happen this year. So that's an area of concern. I think you just got to continue to go out, and the draft's going to be important. But on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, we've got so many players in place. You've got one of the best tight ends in football in Darren Waller. You got the best receiver in football in Devontae Adams. I think the best running back in the game last year was Josh Jacobs. The question is who's going to be the air traffic controller of the Raiders in 2023, and I think that's a tough spot to be in. There's about 10 teams out there right now that are currently looking for help at that position.
Well, and with that being said, with all those weapons that they have, is it you have to go out and get a veteran that's a big-time player, or is it maybe you can roll the dice with a rookie?
Well, I think you're looking at both. I mean, there could be a situation where you go out and get a veteran player, and you also draft a player. It may not be in the first round, but if you see a quarterback that you like, that you think you have an opportunity, even on the second day, to come in and bring in and develop them. That's I think the ability to be able to identify. Draft, and then once you get them into the building, to be able to develop them. That is the key. Some teams don't do a very good job of developing that position. But to me, if you're a veteran quarterback, like Aaron Rodgers, for example, or anybody, I think it's an attractive spot. You got Devontae Adams, you got Darren Waller, you got Hunter Renfrow, you got Josh Jacobs, you got a pretty good offensive line. I mean, I would raise my hand for that opportunity. I'm just saying.
You got some more in that arm?
I do. I wish I did. But I'm just telling you, it's an attractive landing spot. I mean, the people want to come to Las Vegas. I mean, the facilities are second to none. We've got the best stadium in football. I think we've got the best facility in football. I mean, I think to me, that's important.
Right.
I mean, Mark Davis has spent a lot of money on having the best facilities and the best of everything. And I think so from getting those players to come in and look at it, I think it's a good landing spot.
A lot of the players that were at the Pro Bowl wanted to see the facility. They kept talking and commenting about that. So that goes back to what you were saying about players want to be in Las Vegas. It really is a great destination.
It is. I mean, the weather is awesome, and there's a lot to do there. I think it's a city that's continuing to grow and develop and expanding. In Henderson, where the facility is, I think there's good schools. It's a safe area. It's close to a lot of major cities like Los Angeles and Palm Desert, where I'm at in the wintertime.
Yeah.
So I think it's awesome. But you know what? Players are going to go where they think they have a chance to win.
Right.
And I think that, Mark Davis made a decision last year to bring in Dave Ziegler and to bring in Josh McDaniels. I think they have the right people in place. Mm-hmm. Now is how can they build on what they did in 2022, identify areas of weakness. I think when you look at the personnel evaluation, the scheme evaluation, the staff evaluation, that is happening as we speak.
Talking right now with Rich Gannon, the MVP here. And before I let you go, I did want to ask, you got the opportunity to light the Al Davis torch at Allegiant Stadium to close out the season. What did that mean to you?
What an incredible honor, first and foremost, to hear from Mark, to be invited to come back. The reception that I've received from the great Raider fans. Just being around the players and the coaches, being a part of preseason football for the Raiders.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. I love it. I so appreciate the fact that Mark gave me that opportunity, but even more importantly, I appreciate what his father did for me, what Al Davis, the great Al Davis, did for me, to give me an opportunity to be a Raider.
It was awesome. I remember everyone always talking about the great Rich Gannon and everything that Rich did, and you were fantastic when you were out there playing. So, yeah, man, it was really cool to see that and see you be able to light that torch. And I know a lot of Raider Nation appreciated seeing you out there as well.
I appreciate you having me, brother. I really appreciate it. You're the best.
Thank you, Rich. So there it was right there. That was the conversation with Rich Gannon. Really fun to catch up with him and be there on Radio Row and him walk up to me. What's up, Q? It's just really cool. I see him a lot at the Intermountain Healthcare Performance Center. Of course, he works with Beth Mowens and Matt Millen on the preseason games. So anytime we get a chance to catch up with Rich Gannon, it's always a lot of fun. So hopefully you enjoyed that conversation as well. Coming up tomorrow, Raider Nation, we'll have more news and notes of the day. We'll get back to some calls and texts. I'll provide you with whatever I get from Radio Row that, I think is really good and you need to hear about. So we'll do that as well. Got a lot coming up on tomorrow's show. So make sure you tune into that. And thanks so much again for making the Locked On Raider podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, you can find the Locked On Raider podcast free and available on all platforms. Shout out to my man Ari, making sure we're up on YouTube each and every day. So until tomorrow, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.